Joel Klatt has ranked the top 10 quarterbacks in college football for 2025. Where did Arch Manning land? We've got the list on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin native, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. We will rank the 5 toughest games of the year for Texas football. We'll also talk some Longhorn baseball in today's show, but we're going to start off with another list. Yeah, it's the off season, which means it's list season for college football. Yesterday, Fox Sports' lead college football analyst, Joel Klatt, dropped a list ranking the top 10 quarterbacks in the country going into 2025. Spoiler alert, Arch Manning made the cut. We're going to start at the top with number 1. Another spoiler alert, you're not going to have to wait too long before you hear Arch's name. Number 1 is not Arch Manning. Number 1 is Cade Klubnik at Clemson. Austin native, going into his 4th year as the starter for the Tigers. Clemson won the ACC last year. Of course, they made it to the college football playoff before losing to Texas. Klubnik's coming off of a sensational year. 43 total touchdowns to just 6 interceptions. He was magnificent. He damn near willed Clemson back into that game against Texas here in Austin last December. Had a great year. Feels like he figured it all out, and Clemson is a very trendy pick to make some noise in college football this season. If they do that, it will be in large part because Cade Klubnik takes another step. So I'm a big Cade Klubnik fan. I've known about the kid since he was in middle school, and he's a stud, great kid, great family. He is deserving of the number 1 spot on this list. Number 2, Arch Manning. Before I give my thoughts, I'll let you hear from Joel Klatt himself. Why does he believe Arch Manning is the second best quarterback in college football?
Arch Manning. I just don't see a world that Arch doesn't succeed at Texas. He's got the pedigree. The games that we did see him play, we saw a guy that can put the defense in conflict. And I'm talking about with his legs and the ability to stretch the field with his arm. So he can throw the ball down the field and threaten every single blade of grass on the field, but he can also put edge defenders in conflict and be one of the better running quarterbacks that we saw last year. In a lot of ways, he reminds me and those that I work with of Trevor Lawrence. And that's all the best parts of the comparison that I can potentially bring. So Arch at Texas with Sark, all those pieces around him, I think he's going to have a tremendous year.
So Joel Klatt explaining why he thinks Arch Manning is the second best quarterback in the country. A Trevor Lawrence comp? Where do I sign up for that? Here's a little refresher. The college resume for Trevor Lawrence at Clemson. 3 years as a starter. I think we would all sign up for that for Arch Manning. Not sure we're going to get that. But 3 years as a starter, 90 passing touchdowns, 17 interceptions. He also had 17 rushing touchdowns. Don't forget, Trevor Lawrence was a really, really good runner during his college days. Obviously won a national championship. He was the national title game MVP in that championship. First-team All-American, 2-time first-team All-ACC. He was the Offensive Player of the Year 1 year in the ACC. And, of course, he ended up being the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. That'll work. That will work for Arch Manning. I don't think there's a Texas fan in the world who wouldn't take Arch becoming the next Trevor Lawrence with everything he was able to accomplish during his college career. And I agree with a lot of what Joel Klatt had to say. Look, I have no idea where Arch Manning belongs on any of these lists, right? Like, I agree with everything Klatt said. Arch is the total package. He can throw, he can run. His skill set puts defenses in a bind. You've got to cover the whole field when number 16 is on it because he can make things happen with his arm. He can make things happen with his leg. He's got the brain. He's got the pedigree. He's got the family name. There's so much to like about Arch Manning, and there are so many reasons why it's easy to see why his name is at the very top or near the very top of a lot of these offseason quarterback lists. And it's not all projection. I mean, Manning played a good amount last year, and he looked really good when he did. Of course, he started 2 games. He basically played 2.5 games. I know he appeared in a bunch more, scored a big touchdown against A&M, played in the Clemson game. I mean, he played in a lot of big games, but he really, really played meaningful snaps in 2.5 games. The UTSA game when he took over for Quinn Ewers, and then the ULM game, and then the full Mississippi State game to open up conference play last year. He looked really, really good in those games. And by the way, just as a frame of reference, Arch Manning this past season, 13 total touchdowns, if you include his passing and rushing touchdowns. DJ Lagway, the starter at Florida, who everyone is hyping up as one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. He's also on this list as well. He had only 12 touchdowns. Lagway started 7 games for the Gators last year. Arch Manning only started 2 for Texas. That's not to take a shot at Lagway. I think he's a really good quarterback. It just goes to show you what Arch Manning was able to do in such a small showing last season. He made the most of his opportunities. I think every Texas fan, myself included, wanted there to be more opportunities for Arch Manning. And you wonder if that cost Texas down the stretch. Maybe that's a conversation for another day. But just to put things into perspective, yeah, everyone's hyping up DJ Lagway. There aren't a lot of questions about, oh, Lagway hasn't done enough. He hasn't shown enough, this, that, and the other. Everyone's giving some love to that kid. Arch Manning, again, 5 fewer games started, had more total touchdowns than DJ Lagway did this past season. So here's the best case scenario for Arch Manning. Here's how he ends up as a top 2, maybe even a top 1 quarterback in the sport this fall. He gels with his wide receivers. Obviously, it's a younger, inexperienced group of pass catchers for Texas. No Matthew Golden, no Isaiah Bond, no Silas Bolden. You're breaking in some new faces there. You've got some young guys there. You've got a transfer there. Not entirely sure what that group is going to look like. Gunnar Helm is no longer with the team. You bring in a great transfer with Jack Andrews, who I think is capable of being an all-SEC type of performer for this Texas offense this year. If those guys have instant chemistry and those guys are as good as we want them to be, then that's going to help Arch. If Texas has a great running game, right, that's a quarterback's best friend, especially when you're trying to break in a new quarterback. If you give him a good, consistent, reliable run game, not what Quinn Ewers had last year, where it's, hey, you can run for 200 plus against Arkansas and Kentucky and A&M, but every time you play a Georgia or Ohio State, you're going to run it for like 1 yard a carry. Like, no, it's got to be a consistently good running game. If that's there, the offensive line steps up, then yeah, there is a very good chance Arch Manning is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. There's a very good chance that he ends up in New York. He does have the second best odds to win the Heisman Trophy as we record on May 20th. So I don't think that is too far-fetched. I don't think those are a whole lot of ifs. This is a super talented Texas roster. And again, I think Arch Manning has the skill set that you need to be a Heisman contender and to be one of the best signal callers in the nation. Worst case scenario, like loudest knock on wood ever. Obviously, if an injury happens, then this list is all for naught. But assuming Arch stays healthy and is able to start, 90+%, hopefully 100% of the Longhorns games this season, I think worst case scenario, Arch Manning is like a top 20 quarterback in the country. With what we saw last year, the fact that he's going into his 3rd year, he knows the offense. The fact that he's with Steve Sarkisian, who's one of the best quarterback whisperers in the country and one of the best offensive minds in the sport. There's enough talent around him, even though Texas is replacing a bunch of starters on offense. Like, I still think if Arch Manning is underwhelming this fall, he's still a top 20 quarterback in the country. Now, is that good enough to get him to New York? No. Is that good enough to get Texas into the college football playoff? Maybe it is. I don't think Quinn Ewers was a top 5 QB in the nation this past year. I think he was top 20. Texas made it all the way to the college football playoff semifinal game. So you want more. I think the hope is that Arch Manning is an upgrade over what the Horns saw from Quinn Ewers in 2024. I think best case scenario, it happens. And again, I don't think that's a pipe dream. I think there's a very realistic scenario that Arch Manning lives up to all of the hype and expectations and has a great year and makes Joel Klatt and so many of these other folks out there, including our friends at FanDuel with these Heisman odds, look like a genius for giving Arch all of this preseason love. By the way, we mentioned Arch Manning's number 2. Number 3, on Joel Klatt's list of the best QBs in college football? How about John Mateer at Oklahoma? Yeah, that game at the Cotton Bowl is going to be a hell of a lot of fun on October 11th. Last year was really fun, 34-3. I enjoyed it. This year's game is going to be a heck of a lot more competitive, and we'll see. John Mateer was awesome at Washington State, obviously jumping up a couple of classes, heading over to the SEC. But I like that move. I like that pickup by Oklahoma and pairing him with his offensive coordinator. It's going to be fun watching those two dudes duke it out in Dallas. And Sam Leavitt, another Texas tie. The Arizona State quarterback comes in at number 4. Drew Aller rounding out the top 5. And you get a few other SEC quarterbacks on this list. Garrett Nussmeier's there. DJ Lagway's there. Lenore Sellers is there. And then rounding out the top 10, you get Luke Altmaier at Illinois and Carson Beck, former SEC quarterback, now with Miami. So there you go. Joel Klatt has Arch Manning, number 2 on the top 10 quarterbacks in college football. What say you? Too high? Too low? Just right? If you're watching on YouTube, please comment below with your thoughts. All right, let's keep the Texas football conversation going. We are 102 days away from the Longhorn season opener against Ohio State. Not that we're counting. We know that game will be tough. What's the second toughest game on the Longhorns 2025 schedule? We'll debate coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. The conference finals start tonight, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. It's been good to this point. It's about to get even better. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout star, there's never been a better time to get in on the action, and FanDuel makes it so easy to stay in the game before tip-off and after the game starts. Player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, more ways to win than ever before, thanks to our friends at FanDuel. You going with the favorites? Do you think we'll get Oklahoma City and New York? Or are you going to call for some upsets? Can Minnesota or Indiana advance to the NBA Finals? You could bet on that. You could bet on players. So many ways to win, once again, at FanDuel. And how about a $200 bonus bet? Yeah, our friends at FanDuel are hooking you up right now. Head over to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If that bet wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. That's right. You new customers, head over to FanDuel.com, place a $5 bet. If that wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets to make things a little bit more exciting throughout the remainder of the postseason. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Texas opens up the 2025 season at Ohio State. To me, that is the Longhorns' hardest game of the season. Ohio State is 70-10 in their last 8 seasons. Ryan Day gets a lot of grief. He's got the highest winning percentage of any coach who has coached more than 50 games ever. Not the turn of the century, not the last decade, not the last 50 years. Ryan Day is the highest winning percentage of any college football coach who has ever coached more than 50 games in the history of the sport. Of course, the Buckeyes just won it all. Texas will be on the road against a team raising a banner. It's week 1. I know Ohio State has a lot to replace, so they'll be breaking in some new faces, but obviously Texas does too. That is as tall of a task as you could possibly get if you are Texas. Wish that game was week 2, like Michigan last year. Texas got that tune-up season opening game, and then they went on the road and took it to the Wolverines. I still think Texas can beat the Buckeyes. Matter of fact, I think I said last week, if you asked me for a pick right now, I would pick Texas to win that game in the shoe. But the Horns are 3-point underdogs right now on FanDuel. They probably should be. And, on the road at the defending champs, Ohio State's going to be a preseason top 3 team. They've got a ton of talent. That is no easy game for the Longhorns. So that's the toughest one for me. What say you? Comment below with your thoughts. I want to go 5 through 1 here, ranking the 5 toughest games for the Horns this fall. I already gave you number 1, so now we're going 5 through 2. Number 5, Black Friday, November 28th, Texas hosting Texas A&M. I'll be honest, to me, there's a pretty steep drop-off between number 4 and number 5. I didn't want to put the Aggies on this list because I always feel good about Texas's chances against A&M. Just look at the all-time record between these two teams. I think Texas is a hell of a lot better than A&M right now. But I really didn't know who else to put. Like, at Kentucky, Could be tough. Kroger Field has been a house of horrors for some teams recently, but I don't think Kentucky's very good. At Mississippi State, dealing with those cowbells, Texas is way better than them. Not to just sit here and guarantee a bunch of Longhorn victories, but like Arkansas at home, Vanderbilt at home. A&M's better than all of those teams. And again, even though it's a game in Austin and Texas has dominated the rivalry, it makes the cut. The Lone Star Showdown, number 5, presented by Cotton Holdings, by the way. I don't want them coming after me for not mentioning that. Number 4, here's where it gets a little tougher. At Florida, the SEC opener on October 4th. The good news, Texas now has 2 weeks to prepare for that game. Originally, the Sam Houston State game, the final non-con of the year, was on September 27th. Texas was able to get that game moved to September 20th. So Texas gets that bye week to get ready for a tough road trip to the Swamp against Florida. Now, Florida also has 2 weeks to prepare for that game. So there's no real rest advantage there for Texas. The good news is they don't have a disadvantage like they did on paper a few months ago. Florida, I mean, that's one of the best atmospheres in college football. And even though the program's been down as of late, that's a huge game for them. It's the first time Texas has played in Gainesville since pre-World War II. So the fans are going to be there, and they are going to be loud. And, yeah, Florida finished the year strong last year as well. They've got a talented roster. Recruiting has not been a huge issue for Billy Napier. It's development and winning games. Sounds familiar as a Texas fan. They've got a talented roster. They've got a 5-star quarterback, tough atmosphere. It could be trouble for Texas. I feel good about Texas's chances because I think Billy Napier is not very good. They call him Sunbelt Billy for a reason. And I'm not 100% sold on DJ Lagway just yet. So I think Texas has the coaching advantage. I think Texas has the quarterback advantage. I think Texas has more talent than Florida does. And maybe I'm still remembering the total ass kicking that took place in Austin. I know Lagway didn't play in that game last November, but all of those things, I feel like that's a Longhorn win. But in the Swamp, that crowd, don't sleep on the Florida Gators. That's number 4 for me. Number 3, Oklahoma. This game always scares me. I was scared last year. I was scared 49-0 year, even though I knew Oklahoma didn't have a quarterback in that game. I don't know why. It's just this game. It's a throw the record out game. It's the throw the stats out. It's the throw the previous year's game out. I know Texas beat OU 34-3 last year. Some of y'all are just expecting that's going to happen again. I'm sorry to do this, but I remember 2022, 49-0. I remember what happened the following year when Texas was better. They were favored to win. Oklahoma had a transfer quarterback that, beat Texas. I'm picking Texas to win that game, but don't sleep on it. I mean, when Texas was really bad, really bad in the 2010s, they beat some really good Oklahoma teams. It's just that game. When the Golden Hat is on the line inside the walls of the Cotton Bowl, whether they run out of water in the first half or not, stuff gets weird at the State Fair of Texas. I don't think Brent Venables is a great coach. I said it earlier. I like the pickup of John Mateer. I don't, because I'm a Texas fan. I think that's a good get for Oklahoma. I think pairing him up with Ben Arbuckle, his old OC at Washington State, was smart. Oklahoma will be better. They've got talent. The game will be more competitive. And again, anytime it's Texas OU, expect the unexpected. That one won't be easy for the Longhorns in October. And that's right after that Florida game as well. Number 2, make sure I got the date right here. November 15th at Georgia. Do I even need to explain this after what happened last year? The 2 times the Horns and Dogs share the same field at the same time. The good news, Texas has 2 weeks to prepare for this game. They do have a rest advantage this year. Georgia does not. They have to play at Mississippi State the week before on November 8th, but it's them. Great opportunity for the Longhorns. I think it's a winnable game for Texas. Georgia's replacing a ton of talent. I'm not sold on Gunnar Stockton yet. I don't think they're that sold on Gunnar Stockton yet. Maybe they'll have a different quarterback by the time that game rolls around in mid-November. But it's still Kirby Smart, the best coach in the country. Still Georgia. They've been the premier program in the country these last 5-6 years. That one won't be easy. Again, it's winnable. I'm not saying just give up on it right now. No, Texas will know a lot more about both of these teams, obviously, by the time we get to that game. Texas very much has a chance, but yeah, at Georgia, never easy. especially not with what Kirby Smart has built in recent years. So that's number 2. And then number 1, I started off the segment with it at Ohio State. I think that is the most difficult challenge for the Longhorns in 2025. So there's my list, 5 through 1 through 5, however you want to order it. Would love to hear from you. What are the toughest games for Texas? Am I off? Am I on? Comment below with your thoughts if you are watching on YouTube. All right, let's shift gears here. Let's talk a little Texas baseball. Last week, the Longhorns wrapped up an SEC championship. This week, the Longhorns wrapped up a few SEC postseason awards. We'll tell you who won what, and I will give my team MVP going into the conference tournament. Coming up next, right here on Locked On Longhorns. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Some much-deserved love for Texas baseball following their SEC winning regular season. Yesterday, the conference announced some award winners for 2025. The Coach of the Year, no surprise, Jim Schlossnagle. This one should have been unanimous. I don't know how the voting goes. I don't know if the voting's ever made public. I think it isn't ever made public, but there isn't anybody who got to vote on this who should have picked anybody else besides Jim Schlossnagle. Yeah, there are other great teams in this conference. The SEC is going to litter the top 8 national seeds. There will be a ton of regional hosts for the SEC when the bracket comes out on Sunday. But for Schloss to do what he did in year 1, year 1 for him at Texas, year 1 for Texas in the SEC, for the Longhorns to win this league by 2 games, remarkable stuff. I don't want to take too many shots at David Pierce. I like David Pierce a lot. I thought he did a pretty good job at Texas, but this program at this time a year ago was not in a great spot. I mean, Texas was a 3 seed in a regional last year, and things were clearly trending in the wrong direction. They were a middle-of-the-road team in the Big 12. The fact that they've been able to damn near take a full 180 and get to where they're at right now in the span of like 1 year, remarkable stuff. Schloss, Tulo, Max Wiener, Nolan Kane, the whole staff deserves credit. Obviously, the players deserve credit too. I'm sure Schloss will be the first to credit the guys around him for this award, but it all starts at the top. You go 42-11 in your first year anywhere as a head coach. It's pretty damn impressive. You go 22-8 in the toughest league in the sport, and you win the conference by multiple games, and you wrap it up before the last 2 days of the season. Yeah, you deserve some serious, serious love. I think Schloss should be in the running for National Coach of the Year. I'd be lying if I told you I knew every good coaching job in college baseball across America job than Coach Schloss has done in his first season in Austin, Texas. So congrats to Schloss on that much-deserved Coach of the Year award. And congrats to Dylan Volantis. Dylan, the praying mantis Volantis, was named SEC Freshman of the Year. What a sensational season for the Longhorns closer. A 4-0 record, 12 saves on the year, 6th in the country, 11 saves in SEC play. That's actually a conference record. Texas played in and won a bunch of close games this year, hence the save stats. The Longhorns, they don't win the SEC without Dylan Volantis. They don't. Having that reliable closer, I mean, Volantis gave up just 5 runs in 28 1/3 SEC innings, late game situations against great teams. I mean, the guy looked like a 10-year major league veteran, not a true freshman in college baseball, leading the conference in ERA, leading the conference in WHIP, leading the conference in batting average. Again, that stuff's not supposed to happen for a true freshman. Dylan Volantis almost made SEC play look easy. He's almost made this college baseball thing look pretty easy so far in year 1. I know there were some other great freshmen around this conference, but to me, this one was another no-brainer. Number 99, the lefty, has been a huge part in Texas's success this year. And if the Longhorns do end up getting the number 1 overall seed, they can look at big number 99 as a big reason why. A couple of Longhorns were selected to the All-SEC first team. Dylan Volantis, of course. The other one, Rylan Galvan, the first-team catcher in the SEC, hitting .299 this year, a team-high 14 home runs, great defense behind the plate all season long, controlling the pitching staff, just a stud for this Texas team all season long. I'm glad he got that honor. No Texas players made it on the second team. It's a little interesting. The team that won the conference only had 2 players on the first and second teams combined. Maybe Jared Spencer would have been on that list if he didn't get hurt. I feel like Max Grubbs maybe deserved a spot on one of those lists. Ethan Mendoza could have been there as well. There were a few names that should have at least been in consideration. And again, there are a number of teams that had more players on these all-conference squads than Texas did, despite finishing well behind the Longhorns in the standings. But Texas gets the ultimate prize. That's winning the SEC regular season title. The all-defensive team, kind of like this bit. Didn't realize this was a thing. 4 Texas Longhorns selected to the SEC all-defensive team. Rylan Galvan, Kimball Schuessler at first. The guy was a catcher. Switched to first base to make room for Rylan Galvan and had a fielding percentage over 98 this year. One of the best defensemen in the conference, one of the best defensive first basemen in college baseball. Will Gasparino and Ethan Mendoza, your other 2 Longhorns to be selected to the all-defensive team. And then I promised my vote for team MVP. I'm going to go with Dylan Volantis. I think it's a 2-horse race between the 2 first-teamers. Feels pretty obvious to say. You can make a strong case for Rylan Galvan because that guy played pretty much every day. And, Max Ballou was out for a couple of years, and some of the guys around him offensively had their ups and downs. Rylan Galvan was consistent with the contact, with the power, big-time team leader, great behind the plate. He checked every box. I don't want this to sound like a slight at Rylan Galvan. He is well-deserving of the Locked On Longhorns Texas Baseball Team MVP award, but I'm going to give it to Dylan Volantis. Again, with all of the close games that Texas played, the fact that this guy set a conference record for the most saves in a single season as a freshman. Texas doesn't win this league without either of these guys, but the amount of big outs that Volantis got, and it was fitting that he was on the bump when Texas closed out the SEC last Thursday in Norman. He gets my vote for regular season team MVP. So there you go. Some accolades, some much-deserved accolades for Texas baseball following their SEC regular season title. The SEC tournament is going on right now in Hoover. Texas, of course, has the double bye, so the Longhorns will not play until Thursday. Earlier today, Alabama beat Mizzou. So Alabama and Tennessee will play tomorrow in the 8-9 game. The winner of that will play Texas Thursday at 3 o'clock. So we'll be watching that game tomorrow, and then we will preview Texas's SEC tournament path. Hopefully the Longhorns can win another conference title to make it 9 in their first year in the league. Not too shabby. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. If you made it this far, number 1, thank you. Number 2, please remember to like this video, rate 5 stars, subscribe, leave a comment, share, all of those great things. Always appreciate y'all's continued support. Can't thank you enough for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, be sure to check out the Locked On Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, the portal entries, the portal signings, everything you need to know to be the most informed college football fan out there. Find the portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. More Texas baseball, more Texas football, talk a little Texas softball. We got plenty more to get into because there's never a dull moment on the 40 acres. We got you covered with everything right here on Locked On Longhorns. That's going to do it for today's show. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mics off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.